Hello, welcome to the Tim Booker channel. I wish you all an enjoyable audiobook experience. Today, the book I'm interpreting for you is Neal Stephenson's Snow Crash. From the title, what do you think Snow Crash might be about? Some adventurous mountaineering story, or perhaps a terrifying financial crisis? Not at all. The snow crash we're talking about today is a virus. It's even more dreadful than natural avalanches and financial collapses, as this virus can not only wreak havoc in the virtual world but also control the entire real world. By now, you probably have a glimpse of what it's all about. Snow Crash is a science fiction novel belonging to the cyberpunk genre. The term cyberpunk originates from ancient Greek, originally meaning to cut with a hand, but it evolved into something related to control. In 1948, the brilliant mathematician Norbert Wiener published Cybernetics, reviving the term and linking control with digital information. Later on, cyber almost became synonymous with computers and networks. Even without the invention of the internet, life is like a web. However, with the advancement of information technology, this web became more intricate, leaving netizens with fewer places to escape. As for punk, it was originally a type of simple and rough music, representing rebellious individuals. Nowadays, for many, it can be as simple as not answering your boss's calls after work. It's a punk attitude. Even if you don't have the courage to be a punk, you may still have a punk heart. Breaking free from the constraints of the net is the nature of birds and fish, and of course, human nature too. So, when you combine cyber and punk, the simplest summary of cyberpunk is high-tech, low-life. Let me explain further. Technology has advanced, but the quality of life has declined. Within the phrase high-tech, low-life, some people read pessimism and anger, while others read optimism and self-deprecation. This mindset shift led to what we call post-cyberpunk, which embodies a more complex emotional attitude and a re-evaluation of reputation. Now, let me tell you that Snow Crash falls precisely into the category of post-cyberpunk. Why did Stephenson become more optimistic? One reason is that artistic creation requires change to avoid falling into the outdated. Another reason, perhaps more fundamental, is that Stephenson truly understands technology. Besides physics and computing, he has extensive knowledge in history, philosophy, religion, finance, cryptography, and various other fields. Many tech companies hire him as a consultant due to his broad perspective. Some even speculate that Stephenson could be the mysterious inventor of Bitcoin, Satoshi Nakamoto. For him, technology is not just a concept, it's something concrete. When you understand something well, you won't be surprised or overly pessimistic about it. Post-cyberpunk is, to some extent, a more mature and realistic version of cyberpunk. Yet, because you know where the boundaries of reality lie, you can exaggerate without worrying about losing control. So, post-cyberpunk can be seen as a blend of subtle imitation and parody of this genre. Enough talking, seeing is believing. Now, I'll take you into the world of Snow Crash and its post-cyberpunk events. Part 1, let's take a look at what the near-future reality will turn into. Part 2, we enter the virtual world, also known as the Metaverse, to see the strange beings and creatures there. Part 3, I will discuss Snow Crash, the super virus that can destroy both the real and virtual world simultaneously, and explore the real prejudice hidden behind this fictional virus. Snow Crash was published in 1992, describing the near future of the 21st century. However, the specific year is not mentioned. In the timeline of the novel, the world experiences a super economic crisis, where the US dollar has inflated to an immense degree, losing its value compared to toilet paper. The U.S. government even issues a lengthy email titled Sanitary Paper Resource Integration Sharing New Regulations, implying that the government is out of money, and wasteful government employees are no longer provided with toilet paper. Instead, they are advised to voluntarily donate toilet paper, which will be placed at the entrance of restrooms. Moreover, it's emphasized not to confuse stacks of dollar bills with toilet paper, as it can clog the toilets and tarnish the nation's image. During this time, the United States has fragmented into numerous private quasi-nation entities. The government has retreated, and private corporations now exercise administrative power over specific regions. The country is divided, with the wealthy and capitalists controlling territories, and private mercenaries enforcing their laws. Traveling between areas requires displaying various pass-like QR codes on oneself or their vehicle for passage through private territories. The exaggerations in Stephenson's novel have their roots in the Reagan administration's new conservative policies. The extreme application of neoliberal market economics led to the fragmentation of the U.S. and reduced government budgets, eventually causing the disappearance of social welfare programs and even toilet paper for government employees. The protagonist of the novel is a pizza delivery guy, whose name is Hiro Protagonist. In this world, people mostly use online pseudonyms as their names, blurring the lines between reality and virtual existence. Despite being a pizza delivery guy, Hiro drives a supercar provided by the company, not unlike a Ferrari, equipped with bulletproof armor and a handgun. Hiro is also an adept swordsman, carrying 2 samurai swords instead of a gun. The story starts with Hiro's pizza delivery adventure, but an encounter with a 15-year-old girl named YT changes the course of his delivery career. YT is a skateboarding courier, and she helps Hiro deliver pizzas on time, catching the attention of Uncle Enzo, the boss of the pizza company. The novel delves into the dynamics between the characters and their interactions in this technologically advanced and fragmented world. The character Raven, a semi-mechanized attack dog called a rat thing, or rat dog, in the novel, symbolizes the ruthless and fast-paced nature of this society. The pursuit of speed and efficiency at all costs, even modifying animals with nuclear power cells, highlights the extreme and utilitarian essence of the snow crash world. In this world, life can sometimes feel like a computer game, with surreal elements blending into daily existence. The novel's portrayal of the future is a captivating portrait of the economic structure, societal relations, and cultural atmosphere. It captures the utilitarian and sometimes absurd spirit of its time, reflecting on the consequences of extreme neoliberalism and the blurring of lines between the real and virtual worlds. Next, we will enter the cyberpunk sci-fi part of the story, known as the Metaverse. Returning to our protagonist, as mentioned earlier, Hiro Protagonist crashed the pizza delivery car and couldn't afford to pay for the damages. He had no choice but to flee with his swords. He returned to his residence, which turned out to be a cargo container warehouse without windows or furniture. Despite being an elite courier in the novel, Hiro clearly hasn't saved much money. Fortunately, he has access to high technology. Having a real life isn't enough for a person, they should also possess a virtual world. Now, Hiro opens his computer, puts on special glasses, and enters the Metaverse. The term Metaverse was coined by William Gibson in Neuromancer. According to the definition, it's a space where data is represented graphically. However, Gibson's description is abstract, depicting the metaverse as a space filled with aurora-like ever-changing lights and shapes. Another familiar version of the metaverse is called Matrix, a proof world that replicates reality precisely to make humans forget they are trapped in a dream. Snow Crash, published 8 years after Neuromancer and 7 years before The Matrix, presents its own virtual world known as the Metaverse, which lies somewhere in between the two. It is concrete but not entirely real, similar to the dreamlike scenes displayed by Japanese anime master Katsuhiro Otomo in Akira. The city in the Metaverse is generally realistic, but the people and objects within can defy the laws of physics and appearance. In Snow Crash, the Metaverse is depicted as a black planet, over 10,000 kilometers in radius, created collaboratively by the world's top hackers. Earth's radius is only about 6,371 kilometers, so the black planet in the Metaverse is much larger. A street called The Street circles the black planet, stretching 65,536 kilometers. This number holds significance as it is 2 to the power of 16, a tribute to binary code by the hackers. The metaverse is forever in darkness yet brightly lit with countless advertisements floating in the sky. All the buildings there are over 1 mile tall, which is approximately 1,600 meters, making them nearly twice the height of the current tallest building in the real world, the Burj Khalifa in Dubai, 828 meters. The streets of the metaverse are filled with 60 million people online simultaneously, their virtual avatars passing through each other with different appearances, some exquisitely beautiful, some wildly exaggerated, and even some explicit or lewd. Hiro's avatar in the metaverse looks exactly like him in reality, wielding 2 swords. He heads to the Black Sun Corporation, the hackers' sanctuary, housed in a building entirely black, resembling a pyramid with its top removed. Countless avatars surround the building, hoping to receive an invitation to enter. Hiro meets a particularly rough-looking avatar who offers him a drug named Snow Crash. Despite knowing that strange things exist in the metaverse, Hiro tries Snow Crash, which turns out to be a computer glitch. The display goes chaotic with electronic trees running amok on the screen, resembling a storm of flying fists. Hiro casually takes the trial card from the black and white avatar and steps into the Black Sun Corporation, causing a commotion among the crowd. It turns out that Hiro is not only a pizza delivery guy and swordsman but also a top-notch hacker. He co-founded the Black Sun Corporation with a friend named D5ID, who holds a status similar to Bill Gates or Mark Zuckerberg in the real world. However, Hiro prefers to sleep in a warehouse rather than work for big companies, proving his punk spirit. Hiro needs D5ID's help because he owes the mafia a car, and D5ID decides to try the Snow Crash virus. After accepting Hiro's trial card, D5ID's avatar transforms into a ghostly naked woman holding a scroll with flickering snowflakes. After a brief display, she vanishes, and D5ID loses his human form, turning into a shimmering cloud of dark vapor. The Black Sun security program, a large star, throws him out of the corporation's premises. Later, Hiro learns that the Snow Crash virus not only destroyed D5ID's virtual form but also caused permanent damage to his physical body. He is left with a malfunctioning brain and an irregular heartbeat, bound to a bed in a mental hospital, where his words become unintelligible gibberish. Now, you have an idea of what the metaverse looks like and how the terrifying Snow Crash virus can infect the real world. In this, I would like to say a few more words. In fact, the metaverse and the real world represent two completely opposite principles. The real world has already fragmented into countless pieces, while the metaverse is a utopia that brings people from all over the world together. The street is the equator of the metaverse, and the private enclaves on both sides can set their own rules of time and space, similar to private quasi-national entities in the real world. However, the street itself has no barriers, and anyone can log in through a network cable. In the street, everyone can freely express themselves without conflict, as the program ensures that avatars in the street can only pass through each other and cannot physically fight. I also want to mention an interesting invention within the metaverse called Earth, which inspired Google Earth. In the novel, Earth is even more fascinating than the real-world Google Earth. It is only the size of a grape and hovers on the desk, accurately displaying every corner of the real Earth. The information is provided by the satellite of the Central Intelligence Corporation, which is actually the well-known Central Intelligence Agency, now transformed into a company. On the surface of this floating Earth, you can see clouds changing shapes, icebergs melting and breaking. The dividing line between day and night just swept over Los Angeles and is slowly moving westward, across the Pacific. This is similar to Borges' magical Aleph. Aleph is a point but encompasses everything without proportional reduction in volume. Borges' creativity preceded sci-fi novels. Although he only gave aesthetic principles and not technical principles, you can realize that cyberspace and novels are essentially the same when you think according to Borges' principles. They both, in a sense, desire to become Aleph. The only difference is that the novel is written with words, while cyberspace is written with code. Text is a human language, and code is a machine language. In a broad sense, they are both languages. Language creates the world, and Snow Crash emphasizes this point, as the Snow Crash virus itself is a form of language. Now, let's move on to the third part. Before explaining the origins and details of the Snow Crash virus, I must first thank the protagonist and the epigraph of this book because they pieced together this information through a long adventure. Similar to Batman, I will omit the various investigations and martial arts scenes of the protagonist and the epigraph. I can only tell you that the protagonist's katana, like Shaoli Fei Dao, is unstoppable once it strikes. And YT is as elusive as a skateboarding pro, no one can catch her. Like a game quest, these action-packed ultimate quests are to reinterpret the story of the Tower of Babel with Sumerian mythology. What is Sumerian mythology and the Tower of Babel? Don't worry, we'll go through it step by step. The Tower of Babel, also known as the Tower to Heaven, is related to the word gate and God in its name. According to biblical records, God intentionally confounded human language to prevent them from building a tower that could reach heaven. As a result, they couldn't communicate and naturally couldn't continue building the tower. But this story has an underlying premise. In the past, humans all spoke the same language, which is known as the proto-language or supermother tongue. However, records even older than the Bible can be found in Sumerian mythology. The Sumerians lived in the Mesopotamian region over 4,500 years ago. It is generally believed that the Sumerians invented the world's earliest writing, cuneiform script. But cuneiform script itself is not the supermother tongue. The supermother tongue, rather than being a language, can be better described as a form of incantation. It directly influences the deep neural circuits of the brain. In the novel, this incantation is called magical, which is the same magical found in the Hammurabi Code. In the novel, this magical is both knowledge and law, surpassing ordinary laws. At that time, humans were like machines, and magical was the various running programs. For example, heavy ground is a form of magical, and toasting bread is another. Those who couldn't execute magical would be eliminated, and those who couldn't do heavy ground and toast bread would not survive. Typically, magical was transmitted orally or written on clay tablets and kept in temples, making temples look like databases. The appearance of the temple coincidentally resembles the Black Sun Corporation in the novel, like a pyramid with its top removed. Just like ancient people and the initial programmers in the Metaverse, they could only manipulate simple geometric shapes. So, who invented magical? It was the water god in Sumerian mythology, Enki. However, Enki later found that in a society where magical runs continuously, stagnation and rigidity are unavoidable, and people may seem stable, but they don't feel happy because they can't sense their true selves. Therefore, Enki invented another incantation called Nam Shub, which also directly affects the deep neural circuits of the brain but can block the path of magical. After sealing the supermother tongue, humans began to create various languages and laws on their own. In conclusion, the key points are that language, since ancient times, can control humans like incantations or programs. The Tower of Babel incident removed the supermother tongue, granting humans freedom. Although humans can't reach heaven, they can begin a truly diverse life on Earth. However, the snow crash virus aims to reverse this trend and bring humanity back to the era controlled by magical in Sumerian times. Snow crash actually refers to a state of the brain going blank and losing self-awareness, turning people into easily manipulated machines. In the novel, a superbillionaire who monopolizes communication and media creates the snow crash virus because he feels his control over the world is still not complete. He found an ancient cult that extracted serum to alter human language nerves from their followers and mixed it into drugs sold to Americans. He then turned the serum into digital information using high-tech means and introduced it into the Metaverse, intending to control all hackers. Of course, these plots are foiled by the protagonist and YT through a series of battles. The villain's helicopter, the one saved by YT, crashes down, and the huge snow crash image that was supposed to be projected in memory of the 5ID in the Metaverse is replaced by an advertisement for Hiro Protagonist security company. If this advertisement is serious, it means that the protagonist, who hates corporate life, ends up starting his own company. And YT, who roams around throughout the novel, finally decides to go back home. The prodigal's son returns home, and the punk starts a business, life goes on, and the novel ends here. In my opinion, the story of the protagonist defeating the snow crash virus is far less interesting than the virus itself. The concept that language itself is a virus is more radical and profound than the villain's conspiracy. Of course, Stephenson only used Hollywood blockbuster-style plots to package the ideas he wanted to convey. So, he made this packaging look decent and provided various auxiliary means and technical knowledge for virus transmission. However, this inevitably blurred the inherent spell-like nature of language. As for those lengthy and complex historical references, they should be viewed in reverse. Because we have already realized the magic of language, we attribute this magic to the ancient Sumerian mythology. As Mack said, human anatomy is the key to monkey anatomy. The most significant event in 20th century philosophy was the linguistic turn. People finally discovered that language is not a bridge to problems but the problem itself. Psychoanalyst Jacques Lacan proposed that the unconscious has a structure similar to language, and Foucault, in a way, reversed Bacon's famous saying. Knowledge is power, turning into power is knowledge. I guess Stephenson probably studied Lacan and Foucault's theories. Because the essence of the snow crash virus, the so-called magic, is a form of knowledge that can control the functioning of society and can directly name the language of the unconscious. Lastly, I want to remind you that the snow crash virus can never be eradicated in the real world because it is not only about language itself but also about the inherent nature of humanity to follow orders for thousands of years. To mentally control a person, you don't need mysterious magic, ordinary language will suffice. In fact, the true magic has not been lost, it is hidden in ordinary language. So, I want to say that I can only tell you this, and you can deceive people. Unfortunately, humans seem to have a secret desire to be deceived, a kind of submissive survival strategy. Perhaps, as in Sumerian mythology, those who cannot run obedient programs are easily eliminated. There is a saying that in an avalanche, no snowflake is innocent. But I still want to remind you not to be threatened by any avalanche. I can only be the judge. Alright, this book's content is interpreted to this point. In summary, Neal Stephenson's Snow Crash is a post-cyberpunk classic novel that, like Neuromancer, has groundbreaking significance. Post-cyberpunk still retains the basic pattern of high-tech and low-life, but it has a more realistic view of high technology and a more optimistic attitude toward low-life. It is more about self-mockery and making fun amid the hardships than about anger. Post-cyberpunk can also be seen as a critique and self-mockery of cyberpunk. The roaming and investigation of the Hiro Protagonist and YT present the near-future real world and the virtual world, which is the Metaverse, where the real world has been divided into countless private enclaves due to its extreme free market policies, while the Metaverse represents the hope for a utopian era when millions of people are online simultaneously. The Snow Crash virus is a virus that can destroy both the real world and the Metaverse. Its origin lies in the mysterious magic in Sumerian mythology, but its essence is the art of manipulating individuals' minds and social operations through knowledge and language. We should always be vigilant about the deception of words and not let ourselves become one of the bloodflowers in the avalanche. Congratulations, you have finished listening to another book. Thank you for your attention, the Tim Booker channel. Please subscribe to the Tim Booker channel, like, and share this valuable knowledge with your friends. Let us combine wisdom with practice to achieve our financial goals and create a better future. Thank you all, goodbye.